Hello everybody, my name is Tiffany, I'm the Tipsy Artist, and today we are doing our beautiful Faith Windmill. So I'm going to show you the model first. Alright, this is our inspiration. We've done this at many of our public parties live, but today we're going to do it on a little bit of a smaller scale and with our templates. So I've got it all traced out, and let me show you the little pack real quick. We've got everything you need to do this project. So we have the templates for you, the canvas, the paint set, and the brushes. Yay! All at tipsyartist.com. All right, now we have the trace done first, and I do recommend using your pencil first. That way you can get it all planned out and not have to worry about any kind of little boo-boos. Hello, Mom! My mommy's watching! She's the one who taught me everything I know. So, yay! Love you, Mom. All right, so I've got my windmill and my church all traced out. And then, once you get that done with your pencil first, then I highly strongly recommend using your Sharpie to go ahead and then do a firm line around every line that you definitely want to be maintained throughout the process. Here's why. We had all that blue sky that we have to do in the background, and it is really challenging to cut into and around the windmill with blue sky. So it's a lot easier to go ahead and sweep through the canvas, and if you've got all of your line art already done, then that just makes it so much easier, because that line art, with Sharpie anyway, is going to just bleed right through, so that's actually a good thing. All right, so here we go. We've got some paint already set out to go. So I'm going to start to work on my sky first and my biggest brush. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up a nice big dollop of the blue. And then nice big dollop of white. This sky is mostly just a blue and white combination. If you do want to make it a little bit more dramatic, you can add just a little tiny touch of the green to it, and that will take it to kind of a beautiful turquoise color as well, which I think is really pretty in our background. But again, stronger concentration of just blue and then the white mostly. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and push this back and forth into the sky here, just nice horizontal stroke. This is actually a very therapeutic process. Feels really good to do this. And then I like to push in a lot of white with this too. So just kind of sweep that back and forth. Lots of blue and then just little hints of white. And as I mentioned before, because I've got Sharpie, that's for two reasons: to help y'all see it better, and then also I want to go ahead and sweep it all the way through. And I don't want to have to worry about doing that cut-in work to begin with. So it's kind of a nice little cheat. Really helps out a lot. And it helps you relax, because the more that you can just sweep the paint just back and forth, then that helps you relax a lot more. And there will be a time when we'll have to slow down and do some more of that precision work. Howdy! Now the only part that I definitely do not want to sweep through, well, I can actually still go through the cross because that's a really dark color, but my church building is actually a light white, so I will try to avoid that. I won't push the sky all the way through the church. But all the way up through the top here, I'll go ahead and sweep this blue sky just back and forth. Just beautiful horizontal strokes all the way through. So because I'm trying to avoid the church, then I'm going to go ahead, yes, howdy! I'll have to go ahead and use my line edge of the brush. So I'll hold it more like a pencil. And then I'll just take it back out over to the side to go ahead and extend back into that background. But yeah, as much as possible, I want to avoid tough cutting work, and especially with windmills, that's not any fun. So I like to do that sweep through. And so starting with the Sharpie is super helpful. All right, so we have our beautiful blue sky happening now, which is awesome. All right, next up, we're going to be doing a little bit of our cloud cover that comes through the background. So I'm going to switch over to my mama brush. Here's mama, and just some beautiful white paint. Just pure white. And as I push in my clouds here, I hold the brush like a pencil, and I go ahead and just make little rounded circles. And there's a couple different ways to do your clouds. I'm going to show you two different options. So you can do some that are just isolated, and these are kind of fun and childlike too. Yes, happy Saturday! So you can keep your clouds isolated if you want, and just go ahead and circle all around to make these little cloud shapes. This kind of feels a lot like what you may have done in kindergarten. I still think it's really fun. And so you can just go ahead and fill that in. Again, that stroke looks like you make little circles, and you can enclose it. And then when you go to fill it in, then you want to go ahead and hold that brush more over to the side, and then just get a light feathering stroke over the top. Ta-da! So that's one option. So you can do several of those, kind of coming all around your design. The way I'm going to do it today, though, is I'm actually going to do just a big, large span of clouds that will come through the surface area. So I'm going to continue this circling pattern, and I'll have it come up. It's going to be a little bit random. So I'll have some of this come way up here, and then I'll kind of lightly drag the brush through here. It starts to change shapes just a little bit. And I'll lightly feather this in. Now while this paint is still wet, then I want to come in and do just a little hint of an accent color up at the top. So I've got some of my red nearby, and I'm going to take my little bit brush and a little tiny amount of this red, and I'll kind of lightly push in a little sketch of this red here at the top. Now that looks kind of scary at first because it's not blended just yet. This is our little accent. Then what I want to do is I want to come back in with my white paint, and while the paint is still wet, then I will do a light soft blend into that. So I'm going to take that same brush and just slightly overlay over the top and softly blend into that red. So that really changes it. It's going to go to just a light hint of pink at the very top of the clouds. So now it's not so garish up there at the top. So that did look a little frightening at first. Don't let that scare you, because we're going to work into it while it's still wet. And it'll give me that nice little hint of pink in our clouds. And then a little bit of that light pink I'll still continue to keep onto the brush, And then I will just continue on with our light cloud cover all the way through here. And as I'm pushing in the rest of the cloud, I'm going to go ahead and just feather this out by doing a cross hatch of a stroke. So it kind of looks like I make the letter X over and over and over again. And I just kind of keep pushing this through. How do I sign up for an online class? Basically, you always go to my Facebook events, and where it says get free tickets, then you can just click on get free tickets, and that's it. So it's real easy. And then all the supplies are on our website. So that's just tipsyartist.com. All right, so I'll continue just doing a little crosshatch back and forth. And yeah, I'm gonna have to start cutting in now. Can't avoid it forever. All right, so I can still see the hints of that windmill there, and what I will do is I'll go ahead and use the line edge of the brush. You're so welcome. And I'll go ahead and just make sure that I can see that. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that line edge to go ahead and work into those little areas there. And then I will definitely come back in and softly blend into that. Just section by section, we'll take it really small. So I'll just kind of cross hatch back and forth. Again, it kind of feels like you make little baby little X's over and over again. Just keep working this through. Again, just still working in clouds. Line it out first so it gives me some confidence, lets me see where I'm going. And then I'll just softly blend back into the space. Come back over here, work into this side. A lot of cloud cover here. Cloudy day. And the decision on where to stop the clouds, thank you. The decision to stop the clouds is kind of arbitrary because Mother Nature, she always changes her mind. So there's no hard, fast rules about the beginning and the end of this. So I will probably stop just somewhere around in here and start to softly fade that out and taper it away. And just remember to keep pushing this back and forth. All right, so I don't want my clouds to end abruptly in the space. I know, we are starting very slowly with really teeny little shows at home. I need to do a little bit more down this side here. This has got some more clouds coming in through here. And I'm doing a little bit of an overpaint and a soft blend all the way down to the base. This will become obscured by grass coming up here in just a little bit. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lightly feather it out into the groundwork. So I do a little bit more of this dry brushing effect where I just crisscross back and forth. So my brush barely has any paint on it. Let me give you a closer visual of that. See up towards the top? It's becoming dry, but there's just a hint of white on there. So I continue to do a little dry brush over the surface, and that will help me softly kind of taper out those clouds towards the bottom here. And I have a light little hint of cloud still showing through this section. And then my clouds become a bit more faint once they extend over on this side of the windmill. So I'm going to be a little bit more light-handed as I position these down. Using just more of that dry brush effect to go ahead and fill the rest of these in. So I barely touch into the paint, just enough to line out the edges of the windmill. And then I use that little bit of paint to just lightly extend into the background and create that nice soft fade. But I don't want too much of that white paint. since I want just a little bit of transparency happening and just that light dry brush effect happening as I softly fade out with the cloud mist coming into the background here. All right, sweet. We are done with our beautiful clouds, I think. All right. I don't know, I could probably keep playing with it for a while. Yay! Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I love doing this. It's so fun. And we have family in the backyard and they're doing barbecue. We're doing, what are we doing today? Something good. I'm on keto, which I love for the most part because I'm a meat eater. And it allows me to eat like a house and stay fairly thin. So, but today we are cheating and I'm getting Texas toast. So I'm very excited about that. All right, I just realized I missed a spot with my clouds while I was talking about Texas toast. I have this whole little section here in the middle that I forgot. So, oops. So I'm gonna come back in with my little bit brush. You know, Texas toast can be distracting. Thank you, Mom. I love you too. All right, so I use my little bit brush because it has a nice fine point. Allows me to make that little circle on the inside. This is the only way that I can make this little curve happen here. So I'll do that first. I get just enough paint to lightly go over the surface, and then I'm going to crisscross this brush back and forth. And do a nice soft blend here into the center. You know, Mom, you should come over and have Texas toast with us. Logan is here, and Uncle Rex is coming in. All right, let's see. We got a Band-Aid on one AC unit, so you won't swelter to death. Yay! All right, so I think I've got all my cloud cover done in this area here. So now let's see. Now what we need to start working on is our lovely windmill. All right, so it's a good thing the church is next door so you can pray before you start to paint. Oh, don't worry. It's not that hard. Ish. This is actually so all my paintings are designed for beginners. I won't lie though, this one kind of pushes it to if you want to challenge yourself just a little bit. Are they going to be there tomorrow? Let's see. Uncle Rex is actually just coming through town for a barbecue today, and then he's headed to Dallas. And then Logan will be here tomorrow. Yeah. All right. Hello, Audrey. All right, so here's what I'm doing. I am mixing up a little bit of the brown and the gold. I've got some sunlight happening on some of these blades here towards me on this side, and then I'm gonna have to darken up on that side, but for this side, I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter. So I am going to do, you know what, I need a little bit of white too. All right, so I've got a little bit of this white, a little bit of brown, a little bit of gold. So for these blades in here, I'll just go ahead and start with this color. And again, the mix on this was my brown, my gold, and just a little bit of white. And let's see, this one's still kind of light. And this one And I'm using my mama brush. So she is really the perfect size for this size of the blade too, which makes it nice. So you can just press on one side and drag it through, and it's a really nice fit in there. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And on this one, looking at my model, trying to get an idea of which ones are still light. This one still has a lot of sunlight hitting it. What's kind of fun too, you can just barely touch into the brown a little bit and then lightly kind of drag that through there while the paint is still wet, and see how that creates a nice blend on there, which is really fun. So again, just lightly touch into that brown, and while the paint's still wet, just kind of lightly pull that through. You get a really nice soft blend. All right, progress. Take these all the way to the center. All right, so we are starting to darken up a little bit. So I need to do a second mix of some darker colors in here. So I'm going to create this really beautiful kind of teak brown. So basically all that is mostly brown and a little bit of black. So I'll mix that together, brown and black. And then I'll start to push these into the other blades. And the sun is basically shining in, and this needs to be a little bit more gradual here. So I don't want this really stark contrast between all of a sudden brightly lit blade and then super dark blade. So I will take that same brush and I'll push into a little bit of that light gold. Push into a little bit of that white, and I'll do one soft drag right here over the top. And I'll come back in with that dark shade and then just softly blend over the top so that that transition is a little bit more gradual. And I'm going to go ahead and take this brush, put it on the edge side, go ahead and twist it all the way around. And then I can go ahead and continue on with the darker blades. And again, this is that teak color that I created, so this is just black and brown. And every now and again, as I'm still working on my transition, then I go ahead and touch into a little bit of that gold. Just do a light little push and drag through the blade. All right, so my base is again that darker brown on this side. So continue with that. Comes my little light wash of gold running through there. I like to do that while the paint's still wet. That way you get that really nice soft blend in there. Howdy! So one more with that darker shade. All right, and we're getting that kind of crazy, the shift is too dramatic here between the two, so I'm going to do a light transition. So I'll come back in with a little bit more gold, T90 touch of white there. And then I'll do a soft drag. That way it just creates a little soft highlight on that one side. All right. I think that looks good. Now, I've got a little bit of some action happening here in the center. So I'm going to stay pretty dark with that, so the mix of the brown and the black. And I can still see my lines poking through. And you can add just a little bit of arbitrary highlight here. So I came in with a little bit of white. Kind of touch down on one side. Just makes it look a little bit like a weathered old look. And then sometimes I'll touch it down with a little bit of darkness too. So just, I took a little tiny corner of that black and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lay that into the shape. I'm basically just taking that brush and doing a little bit of a tap, tap, tap. And so that'll just create a little bit of a weathered, worn look around the inside here. Now before I go too much farther with this, I'm going to go ahead and continue the base of my windmill. So I'm going to just stick with that darker shade of that brown and black. Still using my mama brush. And I'll start by doing the line edge first to go ahead and get that worked in. So I just hold it like a pencil and I do a nice thin line. So you do want to make sure, so that it stays under control, that you kind of apply some firm pressure to this too as you're loading it up, and that will give you a nice fine line there. So you can work in all of your boundaries first to help give you a little bit more confidence, that feeling of staying in the lines. And I don't have to be too perfect here on the bottom because we're going to have a lot of grass growing up around that, so this will all be covered anyway. So the main thing is getting this top section in. And just keep mixing in that brown and black. All right, so this little section is a little bit thinner than the width of the brush, and I still want to be able to use the flat side of my brush to work into that section. So I'm going to choose a little bit of a bigger brush. So this is a little buddy that's a little bit bigger, and I'll get that loaded up, and then this way I can hold it on the side, flat side of the brush, and then just work this across here. That's looking really good. Okay. All right, so now what I need to do too is a little bit of a hard line around some of these blades in here. So I need to go ahead and get that worked out. So I'm going to take the thin edge. You definitely want a nice thin line. So I've got to look at my brush here. What happens is the brush can get filled up with paint and make the bristles spread out, so you don't want that to happen. So sometimes you have to, well, sometimes you have to wash it out, dry it, and reload it completely. We're not at that point yet. See, I still have a nice thin line there, so I can just apply some firm pressure, get back to a nice thin line, and then just hold it like a pencil. That way I can use that edge side. And then I will go ahead and do that all the way down here on one side. So I did this side, and then the shadow basically just comes in around the bottom. And then same thing here, start from that center and just go around the edge. And this has a little bit of a curve to it. And I don't want to continue to use this brush to go around that tiny little curve. So I'm going to take my little bit brush, do a soft little twist into that paint, and then just lightly come around the corner and then lift off with a light hand. And I actually need to continue to work kind of back and forth between the two brushes as I finish this out. So I do the same thing with this blade. Let's see, same thing here. A little bit darker line. Come back in with a little bit. And then just do a nice little line around the corner here. Nice, we're pretty good there. All right, now once I get up here, it starts to go in reverse. You're like, oh great. That sounds complicated. It's not too bad. The main thing about painting is just slowing down, being patient, and learning how to see, which basically requires you to not go by memory and just really look at something. We get in trouble with painting when we try to go by memory. Most of us, unless you've tapped into that genius level, in which case you're probably not watching this video. So there are those artists that just have a clear, absolutely perfect vision of something in their mind, and they can paint from that. Not me. So that's even a little bit, there's a few things I can do, but like I have a pretty good memory on eyes, but for the most part I still have to constantly be looking at what's really in front of me and constantly go back and forth and look. My husband is one of those people that has that rare gift. He can just see it and paint it. My brother can do that too. And then one more here. And I've got a hard line around this one too. Now I want to continue to keep my transition here, so I want one more little faint highlight happening here. So I'm going to have a little bit of brown. Actually, a little bit of gold. Just touched into a little bit of white. A little bit of soft, dry brushing, blending happening up here. And then I want just a little bit of a rounded nuance to this blade here. So I'm going to take my little bit brush, my black, and then I'll do just a little bit of a rounded well, if you drive through, we're usually here just not open just yet, but we're usually always here. Yippee! Okay, so let's see here. I think I may be getting kind of done with that windmill. I can still play with it for a long time, but we've got maybe a little bit of black outline I can do here. And then I know I've also got that bigger ring that I need to do around this and here. And we're going to get to that here in just a little bit. I am going to start to work on this top of the church, since it is the same color of what I've got working on, that I've got working on my windmill here. So I've got brown and black. This is my little bit brush. I just hold it like a pencil and start to work into this tiny little shape here. The other thing I'll do in order to help steady my hand is I'll just rest the weight of my hand on my pinky and and that helps stabilize my hand. Now that was super T90, so I would definitely use my little bit brush, but now I'm going to switch over to Little Buddy. Because what I need now is a line edge. So he's a little flat brush. So I'm going to continue mixing in that brown and that black. Let's see, let me show you. Push that back and forth. And then I can just hold it like a pencil and just drag it down. Much easier to use a line edge for long lines. Still pushing in brown and black. All right, so that's our rooftop. Now we need to work in a little bit of a soft, really light, soft gray color. All right, so where is that for me? That would be right here. I've got some white, and I'm gonna go back to like a mama-sized brush, and you just barely touch into the black. Teeny tiny amount. Hello, hello. All right, so a little bit of black with that white gives me a light, soft heather gray. So I will go ahead and work this into the church building here. And I can actually, oh, you know what? Good job. Since I've got my little Sharpie, I can see through, and so I can go ahead and just push this through. I can be a little bit sloppy with this. And I'm going to work in that light heather gray all the way through here. And then I will come back in and firm up those windows here in just a second. Looks like a piece of eraser. Oops. I got it. I must have done some erasing earlier. All right. All right, so we have a nice light heather gray over the front of our cute little church. So now I want to go ahead and accentuate those windows. So now I need my little bit brush, and I will do a darker charcoal gray now, so a little bit more black. Mix those two together. And then I want to twist this brush into a nice fine point. Here it is. All right, and then I will just follow my little window line. Same thing here. Get a nice twist to begin with, and then just follow this around. And you can always softly blend into this line too. So, for example, you can come back in with the white, teeny tiny amount, and then just kind of lightly push back into the center of the window, and you get a nice light fade between the center of that window and then that outline. So while the paint is still wet, you can definitely kind of work back and forth between the two. All right, so we've got that. Now I want to make sure that I've got a nice darker line around the edge of the church. So I've got my little buddy brush, and I'm going to go ahead and push back into that charcoal. Nice thin line on the edge, and I'll go ahead and do a line right around the edge here. Awesome. Okay. All right, so we're looking pretty good there. I do want to make my cross just a little bit lighter than the rooftop, since it is a wooden cross, but it's a real subtle shift in color change. So I will come back into the brown, and I've got my little buddy brush here, and I'll go ahead and just lightly come in over the top with just that hint of brown right over the top here. That way my outline's already in place, and then it looks a little bit more like a wooden cross on top. And then once I get to the roof line, then I'll stop at a diagonal where that roof line would begin. That's really subtle. I don't even know if y'all can see that, but that's just a real subtle difference. You could actually just let it be the look of more of just a dark silhouette in the background too if you want. All right, now, still trying to give this some setup and dry time, and let's work on some grass. Okay, so let's see here. We definitely need a long, thin line edge. So I'm going to come back in with using my mama brush, and the color mix that I want nearby will be, make sure I've got all this. I need basically all of this happening. I need a little bit of white, I need that green, I need that gold. Touch of brown is also kind of nice, and sometimes even a little bit of black, because that black will mix in a little bit. It becomes a bit more subdued, but creates a nice shadow and just looks like a little bit of gray happening in there as well. So I will start with a little bit of white, a little bit of green here. Push that back and forth. And just do a little touch of gold in there too. All right, so we've got our green, our white, and our touch of gold. And then I start from the base here, hold it to where, just like you'd hold a pencil, line edge towards the canvas, and you just kind of pull it up and then just lift off with a light hand. All right, so just at the base and then lift off with a light hand, so that each blade gets thinner. The longer you travel up, it gets a lot thinner. And this takes a lot of repetition, just to continue doing all of this at the base. Now, definitely what you're going to discover is that it can still look a little too translucent, like over the elements of the painting in here. So that's definitely where your browns and your blacks, to create just a little bit of that shadow, will work really nicely in here. So I'll go ahead and push into the base, a little bit more of that mixed in, and then that way you're not going to see two legs of the windmill just poking through the grass, because we want to obscure those a little bit here in the base of that. So continue working this in all the way across. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. So this is too translucent, and I'm seeing that leg of that windmill coming through. So then I touch into a little bit of the black and create just a little bit of a shadow in my grass here. And then that will help obscure that. You can also do a little bit of brown. So I do a lot of pulling just from all of these, just kind of randomly. They all play well together. They all have a really nice blend together. So you can just kind of vary it up a little bit and not worry too much about the mix just back and forth. Even if you pull in just pure white, see, it creates like little highlights, or what almost looks like a little bit of like wheat coming through there, or older winter grass. Now I have to be a little bit more tapered and controlled when I come up in front of the church, because I want to keep more of that shape seen. So I don't want to go up as high as I have it in front of the windmill. And then don't forget about all your colors here to add some of that variety. So I remember to, just basically keep an alternate pattern going here, where you just mix it up a little bit, go from gold to white to green to black to brown. Yippee! Okay, so I'm discovering that I left out a vital circle in the template pack, so I'm gonna try to look all y'all up, whoever bought a template pack already. What really helps, ideally, they always say, it's good to admit. Well, so we've got the church, we've got the windmill, but in class I always give you another circle so that you can have this really nice, perfect circle that comes in front of that. And oh, hey Honey Bear, can you do me a favor, please? You know that green little dessert plate? I'm gonna try that. In the kitchen.
For what?
For me. For a circle.
Are you live, honey?
I am live. I'm live without a circle.
Rex is here and we're drinking.
Oh, good.
So we're partying.
I will be joining you here in a second.
Go America.
This may be too big. Oh, dang it. Yeah, I need something exactly the size of the circle inside. Oh, nice. Thank you. I think that'll work. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, we will get this for y'all since I forgot it, and you're gonna need this. Okay, so smells like peanuts. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna place this about right here. This is probably a little bit small, but I'll get it right for y'all with the template. So we'll be contacting y'all about getting you this additional circle. Many apologies, I totally forgot about this. Okay, so let's make that other circle there. Yay! Okay, so there's our little circle, and then I just want to go ahead and do a light touch of my, kind of like a brownish black over the top. But that circle will make it a lot easier for y'all. So a little bit of brown, a little bit of black. Just push back and forth. And then I've got my nice line edge. And then I can just follow this with some paint. Or a Sharpie. So that might be even easier for y'all, but this really helps. Well, yeah, having that circle is going to be nice. And I'll make sure it's the right size. So I'll do a little more planning. Oh well. I'm having some deja vu. I think I forgot it during a show once too. All right, but then you just follow that all the way around. All right. So ideally, I would have wanted my circle to be a little bit bigger, but that's okay. It looks okay. All right. Yeah, so I will provide that online, send it to you in the mail, put it digital, whatever. But yeah, so we've got that little circle that comes around there. All right, and I think we are done except for the lettering. All right, so next up, let's see here. Definitely want to pencil this on first. And my other recommendation with this too is make sure that your paint is completely dry. So that you can adjust the penciling as needed, because lettering, you're in a kind of a tight space here with your composition. And so you do want to make sure that it fits into the space, and especially painting on something becomes so much bigger than you think it's going to be. So definitely want to work it on with your pencil first. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pencil and I'll just write in my F here first. I'm just going to go up with mine. A little different than what I had in the model, but that's okay. All right. Also, if it's completely dry, then you can also just use a Sharpie over the top or a paint pen. I am going to go ahead and use my little bit brush to paint this on. All right, so that's little buddy. Here we go. Little bit. All right, and some black paint. And sometimes I'll leave a little bit of that dry brush effect on the surface. Like you can see I have a little bit of that happen here. That's actually a really fun look. And my face just goes up, up, up and away. Yeah, well, I kind of need for my face to do that today anyway, so that's okay. It's like a nice symbolic effect. All right, and then we want to sign our masterpiece here. So again, you can use your Sharpie, keep it easy, or your little bit brush. Do a light little twist into the paint. That'll give you a nice fine point. Okay, so we are done with our beautiful windmill in church with Faith, and I will get that. I'm gonna, right after I get done with this live session, I will pop on and create at least the digital circle to give y'all so that it will be a perfect fit in here, and that way you have it as a reference, and then I'll check the orders and see who ordered, and I'll make sure you get a real circle to fit. So that'll be awesome. So yay, because we want it to be as easy as possible. All right, so it's so fun. All right, so y'all, we are doing a wonderful job with this, and we're gonna have a really fun time for the rest of our Memorial weekend. And I'm not sure when I am scheduled next. I know for sure next Tuesday, but I may be on sooner. I like to just pop on sometimes spontaneously, so you never know. May see you again before then, but for sure Tuesday at noon I will see you again with another live, because we do most definitely like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays at noon. So, but y'all have a safe and wonderful Memorial weekend, and I so enjoyed this with y'all today, and we will see you soon.